It is wALT backstage in the Two Brothers Green Room before a Cute Up Artist Showcase with SYML, hanging with Brian from SYML.
Yes.
Our SYML. Enjoying some fine Two Brothers Pinball Pale Ale.
Yeah, man. Hoppy goodness.
So we were just talking about you're from Seattle.
Yeah.
What's the craft beer scene like?
Well, I feel like the phrase I just said of hoppy goodness is like very Seattle, or very like any sort of like annoying beer guy like would say. But this is really good beer. And I mean, we have Georgetown Brewery, we have Fremont Brewery, we have like it seems like, you know, all the neighborhoods have their breweries.
Do you sample a lot of brews as you travel around?
I do, yeah. I mean,
planet?
that's the cool way to get to know a city and its people, I think, is like learn how it drinks and and then try to fit in.
Awesome.
Blend in.
So, all right. So, SYML, SYML.
Yes.
Explain.
Actual word. Most people think it's like an acronym. It is a Welsh word that means simple, and I always have to give the credit to my wife for picking it, since I find it very hard to pick band names. But she thought of a list and sort of like presented it to me, and it was the one that grabbed my attention. My heritage by blood, I'm majority Welsh, but the caveat there is that I'm adopted, and so I don't know much beyond that. And so it sort of serves as this like bit of mystery, bit of like comfortable mystery. Like I don't need to know a lot about, you know.
So when you say Welsh, that's the family you grew up with?
No, that's the family. That's my bloodline.
That's your blood. All right. So like you did a DNA testy type thing?
Yeah. Well, that's like the only piece of like paperwork officially that I got from the state or whatever.
Right.
You know, in the 80s, adoptions seemed like they were all either very closed or very open, and I had a very closed one. So much later in life, I got these papers that said like 90-something% Welsh. So.
Well, so at least now you have something to grab onto and
it was
heritage to
anchor point. Yeah, when I was younger, like in my 20s, I got like a Welsh flag and like, you know, it was like, what do the Welsh drink? Like I want to be very Welsh.
They do have their own language.
It's a crazy language.
It is pretty
beautiful. It's very like J.R. Tolkien language. It sounds very like Elvish.
And so, therefore, SYML.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mantra to creatively, in a way, keep things simple. And I find that, you know, we were talking a bit ago about songs and how important it is to have a song. And so I think the reminder throughout creating to keep things simple is a good one.
So now, you were in the band Barcelona for over a decade.
Yes.
When you branched out to do your own thing, what was the catalyst to do your own music? And then why did you feel that you needed to have a name like SYML as opposed to just going under Brian?
Yeah. One of the cool things that we got to experience in Barcelona was sort of seeing how our music paired well with TV shows and film and trailers and stuff. And so as Barcelona was sort of like naturally coming to an end, and some of us got in marriages and sort of having kids, you know, like sort of the classic, like, well, how am I going to make money doing this?
Right.
Doing music. And that was, we were lucky to sort of have a bit of success in that. And so I, through doing a bit of production and songwriting with other acts, I was like, okay, well, I think I want to focus my attention at home and no longer tour. That was a key part.
I hear you.
Of that, you know that's like.
Been there and done that.
So it really came from a visual side of things. That's, I think, how I sort of approached music for a season, was writing and being from Seattle. I mean, it's like sort of you've built in this inspirational landscape and very visual. And that SYML kind of came out of that writing for film and TV season, and then it grew into more. But
I can totally hear the visual when I hear your music, and especially when you watch these videos that you've put out. It really lends itself to the sound of the music.
Yeah,
it's very visual. I know you've done some syncs for this stuff. How important do you think getting your songs placed in things like commercials or movies is to the music business these days?
Man, yeah, it's a bit of a loaded question, I feel like, in terms of, I personally only see it as a positive.
Right.
But I mean, sort of as that was becoming more common, I think that the risk you run is selling out, and I'm not worried about that at all.
Right.
I'll sell it any day. I've got kids.
Love it.
No, but in all seriousness, I think that music is one of those things that you like experience with more than one sense, and it's sort of like to your core. like is asking for more extensions to sort of like live. And so when it's paired right, because I had, plenty of syncs before SYML even was a thing, but until SYML, I never really had the kind that really connected at the level that these are connecting with people around the world.
Right.
So I think my opinion changed pretty quick in terms of it was not just a momentary sort of like cool thing that happened in a show. It had a life after that.
I think in the current stage of where we are in the music business, we were talking about this earlier, how there's so many things plying for your attention, whether it's the internet or TV or whatever it is, more than just radio. Getting syncs and getting your music exposed in wherever you can becomes super important.
Yeah, it's a bit of the game. I mean, you artistically, you don't want to wake up every day and say like, how can I like, sell myself today for any sort of brand extension of your art, right? But when it's done right, it can be really powerful. And like, I also think it's a part of the industry that pays pretty fairly. I mean, that's a longer conversation. But
well, absolutely, because record sales don't like they used to.
Right.
So you got to have to find these other avenues.
Yeah.
Going back to the videos as we talk about visuals, really impressed with all of these videos. They touch on so many different levels. Body is like watching an episode of Black Mirror.
Yes.
Is that what you were going for?
It wasn't as like as specifically like let's rip off Black Mirror, but it was when I read the treatment from the director who has done a couple other videos with me. I don't think it appeared as Black Mirror-ish on page as it did when we shot it. But why I like Black Mirror, for instance, is that it has this sort of like not too far future.
Right.
And I'm obsessed with things sort of apocalyptic. And so it has this tone of like, well, we're all still very human and feeling these like real emotions under this like really dark umbrella of technology and how we replace certain human things with things that we find helpful, maybe technologically, but
they could also go
sideways, and
wrong.
you could die when the robot kills you. But this was I found it totally like a cool love story, and yeah. No,
it was a great love story, and that actually was like a hopeful one compared to like the war, which is I don't want to give anything away, but I wasn't sure what was going on there at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it completely changed, and it was like, oh my gosh, look at this ending.
Yeah.
But it's not that's not a happy ending.
I'm a fan of regardless of if it's happy or not. I'm a fan of the surprise ending,
right?
A bit, or you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything away. So if you're listening, you should definitely check out The War. And Where's My Love?
Yeah.
Is like I feel so much despair watching this woman, and I want to know why. Why?
Yeah. Man, there's that video and that song. I mean, there's a lot of what started as very unintentional mystery in both of those pieces of art, and it's gone on to like mean something to like mean many different things to many different people. And the video on its face is like super sad, like very sad. So is the song. But there is a bit like when I get to talk to people more in depth about it, I think that I tend to find beauty and hope only after going through the really, really dark, sad, hard thing instead of like ignoring it. And so, it's a bit like heavy-handed, you could argue.
Sure, but you know what? I actually kind of get that. Not to talk about myself at all, but on Stabbing Westward's third record, Darkest Days, we wrote this in many different rooms and camps and whatnot. But then our producer said, put it all together and tell a story.
Right.
And we're like, well, we didn't write a concept record. He's like, put it together and find that one.
Where's the story? Yeah.
We actually put it together into a 4-act play type of a thing where it was going through the stages of loss.
Yeah.
So where you feel really, really down, depressed, then you get angry, and at the end of the day, there's hope.
Right.
The last song on the record is called "Waking Up Beside You," and I miss waking up beside, but it has a hopeful lift to it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of exactly what you're saying. You kind of have to go through the dark to get to the light.
Yeah, and I think I think that people have. The people that have connected with the music or the videos or whatever don't celebrate it because it makes them sad. Like sometimes the music I like and the stuff I like to watch makes me feel sad, but I don't live in that sad. I don't stay in that sad
Because I was going to ask, where does that sadness come from?
Now, I have a great life. I'm very happy.
I know, because I have spent the evening with you, and I know you don't personify that.
I don't wallow in it, but for whatever reason, when I I have these 2 little kids, and when I send them to daycare, I go to the studio, and I just like it's super dark. I don't know why. I mean, I like the windows open, the birds are singing, and I go dark, and it's for whatever reason. Like I have a great partner, and she represents so many good things in my life. And sometimes like I'll get in a place where I like imagine I just lose it all. I just like I wake up, my kids aren't there, she's not there. What do I have? And in a weird, messed up way, I mean that drives me to appreciate it and love it more. And we all, some of us have experienced like the worst loss,
right,
or the worst feelings, and I don't think that is bad to talk about, and in fact it's like super healing, I've found. So
have you have such an amazing voice. I mean it really it's an incredible instrument. Have you always sung? Did you come up from a musical family?
I do. Well, that's another funny thing about being adopted is like my family that I grew up with is not musical at all. They were very supportive of me following music, but I was mostly an instrumentalist before I was a singer. Singing came at the same time I started writing songs in college.
Right.
So a bit later than some, but yeah.
Well, it's a fantastic instrument.
Thank you.
I can't wait to hear it tonight. What's in store for the rest of the year? I know looked at your tour schedule, and you're going to be
it's a little heavy.
Yeah, your kids are going to.
They're going to forget. I
don't want to make you sad.
No, it's cool. We should write a song. No, it's there's going to be touring, and there is a bunch of new music.
Awesome.
So
I was going to ask because you just put out the EP earlier in January.
We got 2 EPs so far.
Right. So is there a full length coming, or
Yes.
what's the plan?
Full length is definitely the plan, and we're sort of like dancing around with different ways of releasing a bit of stuff before that.
I love that. I'm a big fan of EPs and trickling stuff out, and then you kind of can pull it all together for the album.
Well, it's like you said, man. I mean, it's like, what's the story? I think, the more that I've done songwriting and making music, I think the fear that I have when it comes to putting an album together is that I just have lived on all these different islands creatively, and then you kind of zoom out and you're like, oh dude, I don't know what the common thread is here.
Right.
But then usually, because it's your brain and your heart that you're writing from, there's definitely a story to be told there, and then you get to play with production to make it all make sense together. And so that's sort of like, we've done that now, and now I'm sort of going to put it all together.
Well, you'll be back here playing Lincoln Hall later this year. I thank you so much for doing the Queued Up Artist Showcase tonight, and I can't wait to see the show. Enjoy your Pinball Pale Ale from Two Brothers, and thanks for spending some time hanging.
Thank you for having me.
SYML in the Two Brothers Green Room on 101 WKQX.